Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next hour. India's External Affairs Minister slams Pakistan at UNGA, calls it the epicenter of global terrorism, asserts India exercised its right to defend its people after Pahalgam terror attack. Dr. Jaishankar urges UN reform and empathy for Global South at UNGA, says India stands ready to assume greater responsibilities, also called for building peace and upholding human dignity. UN sanctions reimposed on Iran for the first time in a decade after last-ditch nuclear talks with Western powers failed. US called on Iran to engage in direct talks. At least 39 people killed in a stampede at a rally in southern India's Karur. Tamil Nadu's government announces probe. Condolences pour in from across the country. And in sports, unbeaten India will face arch rival Pakistan in the finals of Asia Cup in Dubai today. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar addressed the 80th session of United Nations General Assembly in New York on Saturday, stepping in as India's primary speaker at a high-level general debate. Speaking under the theme Better Together, 80 Years and More for Peace, Development and Human Rights, Dr. Jaishankar reaffirmed India's commitment to global peace. The minister emphasized that counter-terrorism remains a key priority as it embodies bigotry, violence, intolerance and fear.
Madam President, Excellencies, while asserting our rights, we must also firmly face up to threats. Countering terrorism is a particular priority because it synthesizes bigotry, violence, intolerance, and fear. India has confronted this challenge since independence, having a neighbor that is an epicenter of global terrorism. For decades now, major international terrorist attacks are traced back to that one country. UN's designated lists of terrorists are replete with its nationals. The most recent example of cross-border barbarism was the murder of innocent tourists in Pahalgam in April this year. India exercised its right to defend its people against terrorism and brought its organizers and perpetrators to justice.
Dr. Jaishankar also pushed for urgent reforms to the United Nations Security Council and said India is prepared to shoulder greater responsibilities as part of a reformed Security Council.
Central to the erosion of the UN's credibility has been resistance to reform. Most members strongly desire change, but the process is being made an obstacle to the outcome. It is imperative that we see through this cynicism and purposefully address the reform agenda. The historical injustice done to Africa should be redressed. Both permanent and non-permanent membership of the Council must be expanded. A reformed Council must be truly representative, and India stands ready to assume greater responsibilities.
The External Affairs Minister also called for an end to hostilities in Ukraine and Gaza.
We must ask ourselves today, how has the UN lived up to expectations? And just look at the state of the world. There are two significant conflicts underway, one in Ukraine and the other in the Middle East, West Asia. Innumerable other hotspots don't even make the news. The slow progress of the SDG Agenda 2030 presents a sorry picture. On climate change, the reality is of recirculated commitments and creative accounting. If climate action itself is questioned, what hope is there for climate justice? When a once-in-a-century pandemic hits us, we saw open discrimination in access to vaccines and to travel. Energy and food security have been the first casualties of conflict and disruption, especially since 2022. Better off societies insulated themselves by having the first call. The resource-stressed ones scrambled to survive, only to hear sanctimonious lectures thereafter.
And Dr. Jaishankar also said India will always maintain its freedom of choice and will always be a voice of the Global South.
The predicament of the Global South is especially acute. Bharat, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, believes that it has both a duty to contribute and an obligation to motivate. They range from large infrastructure to small livelihoods, from capacity building to people's welfare, from concrete assets to education and training. India has been forthcoming in that regard, especially in its immediate vicinity. Whether it is finance, food, fertilizer or fuel, we have responded to the urgent requirements of our neighbors.
And Dr. Jaishankar also highlighted rising tariff volatility and uncertain market access, stressing that de-risking has now become a global necessity.
When it came to trade, non-market practices gamed rules and regimes. The resulting concentration exposed the world to leveraging. On top of that, we now see tariff volatility and uncertain market access. As a result, de-risking is a growing compulsion, whether from limited sources of supply or over-dependence on a particular market. When it came to trade, non-market practices gamed rules and regimes. The resulting concentration exposed the world to leveraging. On top of that, we now see tariff volatility and uncertain market access. As a result, de-risking is a growing compulsion, whether from limited sources of supply or over-dependence on a particular market.
All right, to talk more on Dr. Jaishankar's address at the UNGA, we are joined by DD India's Akshay Dongre. Hi, Akshay. India's External Affairs Minister slammed Pakistan and was very firm in saying the country will protect its people and interest. Akshay, how strongly did that message came across globally?
Well, quite strongly, Abhishek, and the world has seen Pakistan's role in global terror network. It, in fact, is the epicenter. The world goes on to find the most dreaded terrorists. Where are they found? They're found in Pakistan. Osama bin Laden, after years of being untraceable, literally, was found in the military complex, near a military complex in Abbottabad in Pakistan. So, Pakistan has had a history of, blackmailing other countries through terrorism, being used by terror groups, and then in turn helping the terror outfits financially and using them for political gains, both domestically and internationally as well. So, there is no doubt that the world doesn't recognize it's a problem that the world only sees selectively, because when the threat is on the Western nations, the Western countries, scramble to sort of fight terrorism, to find out people who have orchestrated terror attacks, and even go on to an extent after terror attacks, especially giving an example of 9/11, to even invading the entire countries. Many times, even the reason that has been given for invasion of those countries has been found to be false. For example, of Iraq, when the administration there talked about weapons of mass destruction being in Iraq, and then it turned out there were none. So, this is sort of a double standard that Dr. S. Jaishankar has pointed out at the United Nations General Assembly, that countries should not only be, staying in their silos, insulated away from terror attacks, and expect others to fight their fight, that, many a times have also been helped by these very Western powers, especially given the fact that the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and then the US invasion of Afghanistan also, and along with other countries in the West Asian region, has created instability, has removed governments from power, and that has resulted in many of the terror groups gaining power there during the power vacuum. So in fact, we are paying for them, and the world chooses a criminal silence over these kind of terror attacks is in fact hypocrisy at peace, and that is what Dr. S. Jaishankar has highlighted at a very powerful speech at the UNGA, and the countries of the global south were listening.
Very powerful speech, Akshay, and he spoke on other issues also. He has once again pressed for urgent reforms in the UN Security Council. He in fact said that India is prepared to shoulder greater responsibilities. Akshay, tell us, what do you make of this statement?
Well, the world's largest country by population doesn't have a representation, as far as the world's decision-making body is concerned. That's a big question on that body itself. When a United Nations Security Council was formed after the UN formation, the countries on the side of allies were given all the permanent seats. That includes US, France, Soviet Union back then, and Russia now. Then there is UK and China. After that, there were no reforms, in this very powerful body that has the power to veto several decisions that are taken. So that's the big question, that in today's world with changed realities after decades of a changing of geopolitics, that body still remains the same, and that perhaps is the reason why UN is being seen as a defunct organization by many of the countries, as the power structure remains unchanged. So demands are being made. Earlier there was a meeting between India, Japan, Germany, and Brazil for this very purpose, and it seems that other countries of the global south that have literally no representation in the United Nations Security Council have to voice their opinion more vehemently and more forcefully, rather, after a certain point, to make sure that they find a place, they find a very deserving place in this world body. Otherwise, it remains, as far as the UNSC is concerned, it remains defunct like it is right now in solving the current conflicts.
Broadly, Akshay, how does this address of Dr. Jaishankar align with India's broader foreign policy priorities at the UN this year?
Well, as far as the speech is concerned, Abhishek, it's quite in line with what is happening around the world, the geopolitical tension, the stress that we are seeing on the economies of the global south, and especially if you look at this kind of speech that has been made, it's also in absolute sync with the changed geopolitical realities of the world. So world has to come to terms with what Dr. S. Jaishankar has said, especially the Western powers that though talk about a democracy, around the world and talking about rule of law, are not able to share that very power that they expect the world to do. So this is another form of hypocrisy. So it seems that all in all, the UNGA address has been very perfectly and very aptly put the changed realities and the changes that are required to adapt to that very reality, especially at this very important international fora of the global governance as well as multilateralism.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov advocated for a permanent seat for India in the United Nations Security Council. Lavrov, while addressing the UNGA annual summit in New York on Saturday, said that the current balance of the world is radically different from 80 years ago when UN was established.
The influence of the African Union, CELAC and other regional associations is growing. These new realities have not yet been adequately reflected in our organization's institutional framework. The issue of Security Council reform is particularly important. Russia calls for its democratization exclusively through the expansion of the representation of Asia, Africa and Latin America. We support the application of Brazil and India for permanent seats on the Council, while at the same time correcting the historical injustice towards Africa within the parameters that have been agreed by the countries of the continent themselves.
All right, time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Ukraine eyes weapons and drone deals in impending visit to the US. And we'll get you weather updates from across the world. Also after the break, world's highest bridge opens through traffic in China. Our detailed story.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Widespread UN sanctions against Iran returned into force late Saturday for the first time in a decade after last-ditch nuclear talks with Western powers failed to produce a breakthrough. Britain, France and Germany triggered the return of sanctions on Iran at the UN Security Council over accusations the country has violated a 2015 deal that aimed to stop it developing a nuclear bomb. Iran denies seeking nuclear weapons. An 11th hour effort by Iran allies Russia and China to postpone the sanctions until April failed to win enough votes in the Security Council on Friday, leading to the measures taking effect at midnight GMT Sunday. Iran will again be subjected to an arms embargo and a ban on all uranium enrichment and reprocessing activities and any activity related to ballistic missiles capable of delivering nuclear weapons, including launches. Other sanctions to be reimposed include a travel ban on dozens of Iranian individuals, an asset freeze on dozens of Iranian individuals and entities, and a ban on the supply of anything that could be used in Iran's nuclear program. All countries are authorized to seize and dispose of any items banned under UN sanctions, and Iran will be prohibited from acquiring an interest in any commercial activity in another country involving uranium mining, production or use of nuclear materials and technology. Moving on, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged Tehran to engage in direct talks with US after UN sanctions return. Rubio also called on UN member states to immediately implement sanctions to pressure Iran's leaders to do what is right for their nation and best for the safety of the world. The British, French and German foreign ministers said in a joint statement they would continue to seek a new diplomatic solution to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. They also called on Tehran to refrain from any escalatory action. Well, moving further, in Israel, protesters rallied in capital Tel Aviv on Saturday, calling on the Israeli government to reach a comprehensive hostage deal. This week's protests come after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech at the UN General Assembly, where he condemned the Western leaders that embrace Palestinian statehood and read aloud the names of 20 hostages believed to be alive. Relative of former Israeli hostage Ofer Calderon Ifat said international pressure is crucial in order to end the Gaza conflict. The Israeli military offensive in Gaza City continues as Netanyahu prepares to meet US President Donald Trump on Monday. On Friday, the US President said talks on Gaza with Middle Eastern nations were intense and would continue as long as required. US President had presented proposals to the leaders of multiple Muslim-majority countries this week that included a 21-point Middle East peace plan. Now, Ukrainian government officials will visit the United States at the end of September or the next month for talks on major deals involving weapon purchases and drone production. Ukraine has previously prepared a deal worth about $90 billion to purchase American weapons and has shared its vision with Trump's administration. Kiev was ready to discuss separate agreements, including on long-range weapons. President Volodymyr Zelensky said officials would also discuss the economy during the visits. Now, during more than 3.5 years of the war against Russia, Ukraine has created a robust drone industry from scratch, with hundreds of producers making millions of drones. Zelensky said that he had shared certain vision with Trump on how to respond to Russia's actions. Now, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned the West on Saturday that any aggression against Moscow would face a decisive response, warning against attempts to down aircraft in Russian airspace and accusing Germany of militaristic rhetoric. Lavrov also singled out German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, referring to what he said was militaristic rhetoric, and said Moscow was alarmed by remarks by politicians in EU and NATO capitals of a looming World War III as a likely scenario. Despite taking aim at NATO and the European Union, Lavrov made clear Moscow remained hopeful of frank dialogue with the United States under Trump, despite the US President's recent shifting stance.
Threats of force against Russia, accused of practically planning an attack on North Atlantic and the European Union, are becoming increasingly common. President Putin has repeatedly debunked such provocations. Russia has never had and does not have such intentions, but any aggression against my country will be met with a decisive response. There should be no doubt about this among those in NATO and European Union who not only convince their voters of inevitability of war with Russia and urge them to tighten their belts, but also openly declares preparation for an attack on our Kaliningrad region and other Russian territories.
And US President Donald Trump on Saturday authorized the deployment of troops in the northwestern US city of Portland, extending his contentious domestic use of the military to support a mass immigration crackdown. A deployment in Portland, Oregon's largest city, would follow similar moves by the Republican president to mobilize troops against the wishes of local Democratic leadership in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. It also comes as Trump launches an assault against left-wing activists in the wake of several deadly attacks, which the president and his allies claim are evidence of a domestic terrorist network. ICE, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is the main agency carrying out Trump's contentious mass deportation drive. Officials in Portland are wary of a repeat of summer 2020 during Trump's first term, when the city saw a surge of violent clashes amid racial justice protests following the police killing of unarmed black man George Floyd. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek said Saturday she spoke with Trump, but he did not give any details about the deployment of the troops.
President Trump's inconceivable insistence that we need federal troops in Portland does not address the real concerns in our communities. We do not need or want federal troops in Oregon stoking fear, creating conflict, and frankly escalating a situation that is under control. Any federal takeover with military troops in our state is a threat to communities across Oregon. It violates our right to govern ourselves. It interferes with local law enforcement's ability to fulfill their mission. And frankly, it drains taxpayer resources that could be better spent elsewhere.
Moving on, Venezuela carried out military exercises in coastal areas on Saturday after the US deployed ships off its coast, stirring invasion fears. The exercise involved cannons being fired into the sea and amphibious vehicles being disembarked from a boat and moving onto shore. Trucks carried Russian-made Peshora anti-aircraft missiles to the area. The military also led an exercise to occupy Paytas Island and uninhabited island near the border with Trinidad and Tobago, deploying helicopters and paratroopers. Washington has deployed military vessels to the Caribbean based on claims of combating drug trafficking, targeting at least 3 boats in recent weeks, allegedly loaded with drugs from Venezuela, resulting in 14 fatalities. Caracas denounces the U.S. deployment, calling it a military threat. Now, Moldovans began voting in parliamentary elections on Sunday that could shift the country's direction. The vote may determine whether Moldova continues its pro-European stance or moves closer to Moscow, especially given its proximity to Ukraine. The pro-EU Party of Action and Solidarity currently is leading in polls. President Maia Sandu said the election is very important as it will decide if Moldova becomes stronger as a democracy and joins the EU or if it moves closer to Russia. The EU and Moldova accuse Russia of spreading false information, but Russia denies it. Meanwhile, the pro-Russian opposition accuses PAS of planning electoral fraud. Now, voting has concluded across the Seychelles archipelago on Saturday that spanned for 3 days, beginning on Thursday for remote islands and essential workers. Results are expected to be announced on Sunday. Over 77,000 registered voters cast their ballots to choose both a president and members of the National Assembly. 8 candidates contested the presidency, including incumbent President Wavel Ram Kalawan of the Seychelles Democratic Alliance, who is seeking re-election. His main challenger is Patrick Hardmenine of United Seychelles, the country's largest opposition party. If no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote, the top 2 candidates will proceed to a runoff. Now, Clepsydra, the only water clock of its kind in Bulgaria, which measures time, was unveiled in Plovdiv on Saturday. The facility has been restored in authentic form by sculptor Viktor Limonov. Archival data collected from around the world was used for the restoration of the clock. The clock consists of 2 vessels with liquid that does not freeze, and by raising them, the hours and minutes are measured. The water clock was made in less than a year. It existed in the city more than 20 centuries ago and is described in one of the books by a Plovdiv writer, from where the idea for its restoration originated. The Clepsydra in Plovdiv is the only restored and outdoor mounted clock of this type in Bulgaria. In the ancient world, such clocks existed only in Athens and Alexandria. Now, the world's highest bridge opened to traffic in China on Sunday. Built across the Huajiang section of the Beipan River, the Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge deck sits 625 meters above the water, and the main span measures 1,420 meters. It has the world's longest main span for a bridge in mountainous terrain. The bridge is a key link in Guizhou's expressway network. It cuts travel time between the 2 banks from about 2 hours to roughly 2 minutes. The Sunday opening brought the expressway that links the Liuzhi Special District and Anlong County into full operation. Weather updates now from across the world. Hurricane Umberto strengthened into a Category 5 storm on Saturday as it churned across the Atlantic, while a newly formed system, Tropical Depression 9, is raising greater concerns for the southeastern United States in the days ahead. Forecasters predict it will become Tropical Storm Imelda by late Saturday night or early Sunday, with further strengthening into a hurricane possible shortly thereafter. Several southeastern states are bracing for the storm's potential impact, with at least one already declaring a state of emergency. A tropical storm watch was issued Saturday along Florida's east coast, signaling possible impacts within the next 48 hours. The storm is also expected to bring heavy rainfall across the region, with forecasts calling for up to 8 inches in the Bahamas, as much as 16 inches in Cuba, and around 4 inches in Jamaica and Hispaniola. And Vietnam in Asian continent closed airports and evacuated thousands of people in potentially affected areas on Sunday as intensifying typhoon Bua Loi barreled towards the country days after causing at least 16 deaths, in fact 11 deaths, and widespread flooding in the Philippines. The typhoon is expected to make landfall in central Vietnam late on Sunday. Meanwhile, authorities in the central province of Ha Tinh have started evacuating over 50,000 people. Vietnam suspended operations at 4 coastal airports from Sunday, including Da Nang International Airport, and adjusted the departure time of the several flights. Heavy rain has already caused flooding in Hue and Quang Tri. Meanwhile, southern China's Hainan province has raised its typhoon alert and suspended transport and school operations as Typhoon Bualoi intensifies over the South China Sea, bringing the threat of strong winds and torrential rain across the island. To cope with the typhoon, Haikou, Hainan's capital city, suspended ports operation from 9 on Saturday, with closures expected to last until the night of Sunday. Rail services have also been disrupted, with all outbound trains and 2 inbound trains cancelled on Saturday. A full suspension of inbound and outbound trains is scheduled for Sunday, while 4 inbound and 1 outbound train are said to be cancelled on Monday. Authorities warned that the storm's impact will peak between Sunday and Monday, with widespread downpours and dangerous gusts expected, while port, rail and school operations remain suspended until further notice. All right, we are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more story. The death toll in Stampede at a rally in southern India's Karur has risen to 39. More than 50 people are getting treatment in various hospitals following injury. The incident occurred on Saturday evening when overcrowding and chaos broke out during actor-turned-politician Vijay's address at Karur rally, causing panic and mass fainting that eventually led to the deadly stampede. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin expressed profound grief over the incident. He announced an immediate relief of 1 million rupees from the Chief Minister's Public Relief Fund for the families of those who lost their lives and assured assistance for all those injured. To establish accountability and prevent such incidents in the future, the CM declared that a one-person commission of inquiry headed by retired High Court judge has been made. The commission will conduct a detailed investigation and submit its report to the government. Meanwhile, the police have registered a case against the organizers of the rally. Meanwhile, the central government has sought a report from the state government on the incident. Meanwhile, condolences are pouring in from across the country. President Draupadi Murmu expressed grief over the Karur tragedy and extended condolences to the families of the victims. Prime Minister Modi also expressed grief over the loss of lives in the stampede, calling the incident deeply saddening. The Prime Minister conveyed his condolences to the bereaved families and wished a speedy recovery to those injured. Union Home Minister Amit Shah also expressed deep sorrow over the Karur stampede and wished speedy recovery of the injured. External Affairs Minister, who is currently in New York, also expressed grief and prayed for the speedy recovery of the injured. Prime Minister Modi will share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio at 11 a.m. IST on Sunday. It will be the 126th episode of monthly radio program. The program will be broadcast across entire All India Radio and Doordarshan network, the AIR News website and the News on Air mobile application. Now, cleanliness not only strengthens a person mentally, physically and spiritually, but also lays the foundation for a healthy society. A clean and healthy society in turn accelerates the nation's progress. With this vision, Prime Minister Modi launched the Swachh Bharat mission on 145th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi in 2014. The initiative marked the beginning of an unprecedented transformation which soon evolved into a mass movement at the grassroots level. Today, its remarkable impact is being acknowledged across the world. Here's a detailed report.
With the dream of freeing the nation from garbage waste and building a clean and healthy India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Swachh Bharat mission on 2nd October 2014. It stands as one of the largest cleanliness drives in the country's history. Its objectives included eliminating open defecation, constructing toilets, managing solid waste, changing hygiene-related behavior among citizens, and ensuring safe and adequate drinking water supplies across the nation.
The one important aspect was to ensure the quality of water. The Swachh Bharat mission made a lot of impact. And then stopping the flow of solid waste into the river. He referred to was trying to stop the flow of fertilizers into the river by promoting natural farming on the banks of the river.
The mission did not only cover urban areas but also included rural India. Under Swachh Bharat Mission, Grameen Rural, the focus was on constructing individual and community toilets and eliminating open defecation. Meanwhile, Swachh Bharat Mission Urban emphasized cleanliness of streets, lanes and urban infrastructure.
The Prime Minister was our communicator in chief. He never missed an opportunity to emphasize the importance of Swachhata. Whether it was in meetings with chief ministers, whether it was on his field visits, he kept emphasizing the importance of Swachhata in all its aspects.
Recognizing PM Modi's commitment to cleanliness since 2021, government offices across the country began conducting special cleanliness campaigns every year. These aim to maintain clean premises, strengthen record management, reduce pendency in ministries, departments, PSUs and regional offices, and to review, weed out files and dispose of e-waste. Over the past 4 years, the campaign has been successfully implemented in nearly 1 million government offices and overseas Indian missions. The Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has had a widespread impact across the country, raising public awareness about cleanliness. This awareness has instilled a sense of responsibility among people to keep public spaces clean. Cleanliness has today become an essential aspect of daily life, and the credit goes to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who rightly said that the cleaner the country, the brighter it will shine. Bureau Report, DD India.
And the High Commission of India in Pretoria, South Africa hosted the Viksit Bharat Run 2025, joining a global initiative that spans 91 countries. The run highlights the role of fitness and physical well-being in India's journey towards becoming a developed nation by 2047. DD India's Nazneen Ismail has filed this report.
Pretoria came alive as members of the Indian community, South Africans and Friends of India came together for the Viksit Bharat Run. The event is part of Seva Pakwada, a fortnight of service observed every year from 17 September to the 2nd October, connecting the birth anniversaries of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mahatma Gandhi. The fortnight focuses on health, community participation and social responsibility. How did you enjoy our Viksit Bharat Run today?
Excellent. So I completed the 5 kilometers and I see people are still completing. So good for me. But it's an excellent concept that we have started for a developed India. And this year we celebrated the 75th birthday of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, on 17th September. And this is a 15 days, a fortnight long observation of Seva, service to the nation, and which will continue from 17th September to 2nd October, which is Gandhi Jayanti, birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. So, and probably this will be done every year. And I'm happy that this will instill a sense of commitment in the diaspora and the commitment that the country of India has with the diaspora. So many have joined. I think more than 200 people have joined today in this run, and we will do it every year. And there will be other activities as well. We are thinking of planting of trees, Ek Peड़ Maa Ke Naam, and also going to schools to promote the idea of Viksit India, the developed India, which we want India to be by 2047. Thank you.
In Pretoria, that spirit was channeled into promoting health and physical well-being, recognized as a vital step towards building a stronger, more resilient nation.
It is a very great thing, and it's a great awareness for this park run. And I'm a regular park runner, and I really appreciate the Indian High Commission for taking a part and encouraging all the people of Lodium and all.
Yeah, all people should be healthy and take care of their health also. This is a good event. I think every year this event should be done.
For DD India, South Africa, from the heart of Pretoria, I'm Nazneen at the Viksit Bharat Run, where every step today counts as a step for a brighter tomorrow.
And Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan is visiting Bihar on Sunday to attend Unmesh International Literature Festival 2025. The valedictory session of the third edition of the festival is organized by Sahitya Academy under the aegis of Ministry of Culture. Unmesha is regarded as one of Asia's largest international literature festivals and has drawn prominent writers, poets and literary figures from across the globe. The event marks a significant cultural milestone for Bihar, bringing global literary voices to the heart of the state. And India's Union Minister of Home Affairs and Cooperation, Amit Shah, will be attending a session of Bharat Manthan 2025, Naxal Mukt Bharat, ending Red Terror under Modi's leadership on Sunday in New Delhi. The session will focus on the government's efforts and achievements in combating Naxalism and promoting peace and development in affected regions. The event highlights the progress made under Prime Minister Modi's leadership towards creating a Naxal-free India. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Britain pledges $2 billion loan guarantee for Jaguar Land Rover. And in World Para-Athletic Championships in New Delhi, hosts India opened its account with 3 medals. And devotees nationwide celebrate and worship Ma Durga with full fervour in Navratri.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Britain will back Jaguar Land Rover with a $2 billion loan guarantee to help support its supply chain in the wake of luxury car makers' production shutdown following a cyber attack. The business ministry said the loan would be privately financed and guaranteed by Britain's export credit agency, UK Export Finance. Jaguar Land Rover's shutdown has lasted nearly a month, and the government had been exploring options to support the company and its supply chain. The car maker, which is owned by India's Tata Motors, has 3 factories that together produce about 1,000 cars per day and sustain many jobs in the area around Birmingham. A survey on Friday showed that some firms were reducing staff hours or making redundancies. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Asia Cup. India and Pakistan are ready to battle for the third time in this Asia Cup in Dubai, marking the very first time that both the nations will compete in the finals in tournament's 41-year history, giving the clash an added intensity. DD India's Mukesh Shukla brings you this report ahead of the final showdown.
The stage is set as India will take on Pakistan in the final of the Asia Cup 2025 at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium, marking the first time that the two arch rivals will meet in Asia Cup final in 41 years history of the tournament. This will be the third and final meeting between the two teams in the marquee T20I competition and the fourth overall at this venue in 2025. The men in blue have enjoyed a flawless campaign so far, winning all 6 of their matches, including 2 victories over Pakistan, once in the group stage and again in the Super 4 stage. Riding on this momentum, the Surya Kumar Yadav-led side will be aiming to get the better of their arch rivals once more and secure their record-extending 9th Asia Cup title. Pakistan, on the other hand, have had a stop-start journey. They suffered defeats only against India but managed to win all their other matches, some comfortably and others by bare margins, giving their fans a lot to cheer about. Their campaign has been mixed, but they have found ways to win through collective efforts rather than relying on individual brilliance. Talking about the rivalry between the two teams in finals, India and Pakistan have played 5 finals in limited overs tournaments that have included more than 5 teams. India's only wins have come in the Benson and Hedges World Championship of Cricket and the inaugural T20 World Cup in 2007. Pakistan have won the other 3 encounters, that is Australasia Cup and most recently the Champions Trophy. Whereas in the head-to-head battle in T20Is, India take the lead, winning 12 out of 15 encounters. The India-Pakistan rivalry in cricket finals has always delivered intense and unforgettable moments, with history, pride and a coveted trophy on the line. This Asia Cup 2025 final promises to be a yet another thrilling chapter in this storied competition. Mukesh Shukla's report, DD India, Dubai.
All right, we'll go across to Dubai now. DD India's Mukesh Shukla joins us from there. He's been covering this tournament and he'll be covering the finals also. Hi Mukesh, India are unbeaten in the tournament, have already beaten Pakistan twice. India are overwhelming favourites, they are clear favourites, but again, you can't underestimate Pakistan looking at the history. All right, we'll try to connect with Mukesh again. Mukesh, if you can hear me, I was asking you, India are overwhelming favourites against Pakistan, but you can't underestimate the arch rivals Pakistan.
Absolutely right, Abhishek, because you see in this tournament already Pakistan lost by India in a group stage and Super 4, and this is their last chance, if they want to take revenge with India on Dubai International Stadium. But the situation, if you see around the are also the controversy situation they have created themselves. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Farhan as well as the Haris Rauf, they also create controversy and they are, fined by the ICC. Also, if they want to play against India, they must have a good strategy against the Indian side, because the Abhishek Sharma, they don't have any clue against Abhishek Sharma how final tournament they have to make strong plan. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf, Abrar also have, make a good plan. If they bowl to Abhishek Sharma, to Gill, Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma. If you look out the Indian team, only Surya Kumar Yadav has concern because he could not, score too much run in this tournament. So the final knock is awaited, and everyone's expecting in the final Surya Kumar Yadav also, score good run in this tournament, and the final is very important for him. So he also delivers some good knocking side from the Indian as a keeper for the Indian side. So and the bowling stand, if you took a look Bumrah, Arshdeep also bowled well in the last against Sri Lanka. Their spinner Kuldeep Yadav, highest wicket taker in this tournament, as well as Patel, Varun Chakravarti. Hardik Pandya has concern because he only bowled 1 over against Sri Lanka. He has, some cramp in his legs. How his condition, it has to be decided today whether he will play or not. Moni Mokal raised a concern about his fitness. Let's see what happens when the playing 11 will decide. But it's a do-or-die match for Pakistan. If they want to take, if they want to lift this Asia Cup, they have to battle hard against India.
All right, Mukesh, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. And host India opened its account at World Para Athletic Championships in New Delhi with 3 medals on Saturday. High jumper Shailesh Kumar won the gold medal in men's high jump in T63 category. He also set a new championship record in T42 category. In the same event, Varun Bharti bagged the bronze. USA's Ezra Fretch, the reigning Paralympic champion, won the silver medal. In the last event of the day, Deepti Jeevanji finished with a silver medal in women's 400-meter T20 with a season's best of 55.16 seconds. The 3 medals puts India in 4th place on the medals tally at the end of day 1. As Navratri reaches day 7, the celebrations are in full swing and devotees across the nation are worshipping Ma Durga. 7th day observed as 6th Navratra dedicated to Ma Katyayani. Since Chaturthi Tithi spanned 2 days, the Navratra count shifted, making September 28 the 7th day of Navratri, but observed as the 6th Navratra. Devotees across the country are visiting beautifully decorated pandals with creative themes, offering prayers and seeking Ma Durga's blessings. Also, Durga Puja is one of the most awaited festivals of West Bengal and across India. The second day of Durga Puja, Maha Shashti, is being observed on Sunday with great devotion. This day marks the formal beginning of the grand celebrations of Durga Puja 2025. It is the day when the goddess is ceremonially invited to descend into homes and hearts of the devotees. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.